Okay, welcome everybody to our presentation tonight. My name is Josh Davison. I'm one of the coaches and co-founders at Connected Kids, and I'm really excited to have you joining me live. Thank you so much for giving up your time. And I understand that this time's not necessarily convenient for everybody, and we're going to have lots of people watching the replay, which is great too. We've had over 20 people register for this presentation, so that's awesome. And it's just nice to know that there's people out there that want to make a difference. The information I'm going to share tonight has been life-changing for us. We've used this on one of our own children, and I'm also going to share a few other stories, and also we're going to hear from a parent and their experience with the program. So who's behind Connected Kids? Myself. I've got a Bachelor's in Health Science and a Graduate Diploma in Education. I'm also one of 4 people in Australia certified in the Melillo method. That's not going to mean much to you yet, but I'm sure it will at the end of the presentation. I'm also a registered exercise professional with Fitness Australia. Dr. Bill Davison was one of the other minds behind all of this, and he is a chiropractor, osteopath and naturopath, and he's been the director of the Holistic Health and Wellness Clinic down in Sydney for 40 years. From the registrations that I've seen, most of you won't be familiar with the Connected Kids program or very familiar. So I'm going to just give you an outline into what the Connected Kids program is. And then I'm going to tell you what's involved in becoming a coach. So the program has been really successful, and we're going to hear a little bit about why tonight, and I am fully booked. I can't take on any more clients, but I want to get this information out to as many people as possible. So that's why I've reached out to bring on some more coaches so that we can get this out to all the people that need it. Okay, so what is the Connected Kids program? It is a program designed to help children with neurological diversity. That's the correct term, or the current correct term. It has changed. It probably will keep changing, but what I mean more specifically is ADHD, ASD, autism spectrum disorder, dyslexia, anxiety, and any of the other childhood neurodevelopmental disorders. It is a government-funded program, which is really great, and it primarily is brain balancing exercise therapy, and it's based on the work of 2 leading health practitioners. One of them is Dr. Robert Melillo. I mentioned the Melillo method earlier. He's the founder of the Brain Balance Centers in America. There's 150 centers over there, and he's helped over 45,000 children with neurological diversity. And he believes that these issues can be corrected, and has just recently had Harvard University independently verify his system and say he's right. So I know when I saw that was a massive tick for me, as I was looking around for things that I could do to help in this area. I have not come across another therapy that has Harvard University's independent verification. If you do, let me know, but I feel like that's a massive tick of approval for what we have. And the other one is Dr. Bill Davison, as I mentioned, and he's been helping children with neurological diversity for over 40 years, and he's got thousands of parent testimonials from his methods that prove his work. And I love the saying, there's no substitute for experience. I like to start with a case study, because I think this is the most powerful way to send the message about what the Connected Kids program is, or what it can do. Trish is a single mum from Arizona. This is one of my current clients that I have. She has 4 kids under 7, and her eldest son, Sawyer, is diagnosed with autism and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. When I started with Sawyer and Trisha, she was looking around for a specialist autism school, because Sawyer, he wasn't coping academically or behavioural. So he's falling behind in school, and can't meet the expectations. So she was ready to pull him out and set on, had to go to special school basically. After about 8 weeks on the Connected Kids program, I received this text message from Trisha. And one of the things I'm going to talk about tonight is job satisfaction, and how I've been able to get that through this coaching program that I'm doing. And if that's something that you're looking for, I just want you to put yourself in my shoes and imagine getting a text like this from a mum in this sort of situation. She says she was talking with Ethan the other day, that was her partner or ex-partner, and realised that I think we're at a point that I don't think Sawyer would qualify, excuse the bit of typos here, any longer for any of the specialty ADHD autism schools I had been looking at. So she had this idea, I have to take him to a special school. Now she thinks she wouldn't even qualify. Like the symptoms and things he struggled with are falling away. Just let that sink in for a minute. Does that happen with kids that are diagnosed with autism or ADHD, that the symptoms just fall away? And he randomly told me the other day that his autism is gone. I also need to forward you over an email from the special education teacher at his school before the school year ended. His reading jumped so far in a super quick time that they were shocked. And now we have some teachers on the call tonight, and we're definitely going to be having some watching the replay. And again, in my experience of teaching a child with diagnosed learning or behavioural issues, to have them jump reading so far and so quick, just that doesn't happen. Okay, so as you can imagine, getting a text message like that just makes you think, how awesome is this, what I get to do? And you can imagine how that changes life for Trisha and their family. Okay, so I think we all agree that we have a pretty serious problem in this area, and this graph, you've probably seen these around, helps to show it. And this is a couple of years behind. I think the number now is 1 in 39. I think that was the latest one released by the CDC. So, we're just going up and up. There is no stopping this trend. Why it's happening, that's another webinar for another day, but the reality that it is, and it's not just autism. It'd be the same sort of graph with ADHD, dyslexia, anxiety, OCD, and you name it. And what are the outcomes for these children? This is a little bit scary, but it puts it into reality. And some of these really made me think, wow, it's not just a school thing. It's not just that these kids are naughty at school and they'll be right when they mature or when they grow up. No, if you look at these outcomes and they followed them through adulthood, there's some pretty scary outcomes. The first one is just a sad one, that the divorce rates for families with an ASD, autism spectrum disorder, or ADHD child is 70 to 80%. I am happily married, but it certainly is hard enough. And you can imagine that this is, another burden or another strain. And for me, family is everything. That's my number one priority. And I remember distinctly when I saw this statistic that I thought, yeah, I have to do this. I really have to do this, because I'm not just helping kids, but I'm helping couples and I'm helping families. And this was a real turning point for me that made me really passionate and definite about my commitment in this area. Most individuals with autism live with their parents or are living in a residential facility with carers. Only 4% ever achieve independence, so not much quality of life there. Up to 1 in 6 individuals with a learning disorder have attempted to take their life. So again, another scary statistic, but it's not just about what's happening in school, but these kids are more likely to get depressive disorders and self-harm and suicide. And they're 500% more likely to end up in jail. Again, scary stuff, but I just share that so that we know, what we're dealing with here. So what can be done? Well, unfortunately, the mainstream approach is nothing, or the mainstream thinking is nothing. According to the mainstream view, autism is a permanent disability. That's why they receive funding. It's like, well, we can't fix it, can't do anything about it, so we'll just give you some funding and hope, go do your best. The only reason ADHD is not considered a permanent disability is because it can be medicated, and they see that as a treatment. Some parents on the call tonight will disagree with that as an effective treatment. I do know, again, in a school setting and also just in coaching clients, that it can help in some settings, but it also can make things worse. So again, you'll hear from some parents tonight, and they'll probably disagree that medication should be considered, the treatment. And according to the DSM-5, so that is the textbook or the Bible for psychiatry, ADHD does not fade away. And this is their latest version, and they actually added this in because I think their thinking and approach was that this is just a childhood thing, ADHD specifically, but they've added this into the latest version to know that we need to also be looking for this in adults and treating it in adults because it does not fade away. So this is the mainstream approach. Once a kid gets autism, OCD, dyslexia, ADHD, it's permanent and it doesn't go away. But the good news is, all that was the bad news. Let's go to the good news. Dr. Robert Melillo, a functional neurologist, says, I know what the problem is and how to fix it. An amazing statement, a bold statement, but we've already seen some of the proof that it works, and we're going to see some more. And like I said before, he successfully helped over 45,000 kids across the US. That's the good news, and that's my son who has benefited greatly from this Melillo method, and so I know 100% that this stuff works, and I've seen permanent changes in our own son, and you can't put a price on that. So Dr. Melillo believes that the primary reason for neurological diversity, all neurological diversity, is simply an imbalance and disconnect between the right and left hemispheres in the brain. This can be corrected through stimulating the weaker side of the brain, restoring balance and connectivity. Results. So I mentioned a recent Harvard University study. They found that a brain balance program, this therapy, was as effective at reducing symptoms of ADHD as medication. And again, I've never heard of any therapy that they put up against medication, and you can imagine the factors or the things that you go against when you're putting a therapy up against medication. But this was their findings, that they looked at all the scores and with all the technology that they have there, and they said that it was as effective as medication, and that was if the medication was at the right dose and the right medication for that child. And they noticed specifically a large reduction in hyperactivity from this therapy. They also noticed increased connectivity, and the brain balance and interactive metronome sessions. Interactive metronome is an optional tool that the kids can use with our therapy. But when they completed that, it was associated with enhanced functional connectivity, and they did scans and they were able to show their tangible changes. There's more activity happening there in the brain, and especially between the two hemispheres there. So the conclusion, Professor Teicher was the lead researcher here, and he's the head of child psychiatry at Harvard University. These findings are consistent with Dr. Melillo's theory and prediction that the brain balance program stimulates growth, restores synchronicity, and creates balance. This is a degree of improvement that we have not previously observed in children with ADHD. So you've got a professor here, the head of child psychiatry, he's seen it all. He's been working in the area for 30 years. And he says of this program, this is improvement we have not previously observed in children with ADHD. And remember, according to Dr. Melillo, this is one problem with many symptoms. So the same success can be had with autism, dyslexia, OCD. And this was after 30 years of searching, he finally found something that worked. And that's really exciting. Okay, so we know that Harvard University could get it to work, and it worked over in America, but what about connected kids over here in Australia? Is it working for us here? So this is a case study of one of the first clients that I saw. His name was Elijah. And one of the tools I use to help measure progress is a hyperactivity scale. And according to the late Dr. Abram Hopper, he was an MD, PhD. He was the head of a mental health hospital and also later a whole province in Canada. He considered this the gold standard for measuring hyperactivity and ADHD. And with this scale, an average child with ADHD would score 75, a normal child would score 45 or less. Elijah, at the start of the program, had 85, and this was even with the help of medication, which was the treatment that helps, right? So you can see there, lots of always, a lot of sometimes, and just a few nevers, okay? So he's almost always showing symptoms of hyperactivity, and just see that score there, 81, over what an average ADHD child would have. Then after 3 months on the Connected Kids program, he dropped from an 81 down to a 34 and went off his medication. So this is a legitimate, scientifically backed alternative to medication. And remember those numbers: an average child with ADHD was 75, a normal child was 45 or less. The score over here, 34. So he's gone from, he's diagnosed ADHD, he would now be considered normal according to this scale, which Dr. Hoffler said was the gold standard. So I just wanted to bring Kylie in to give my voice a break, and just to hear, these aren't numbers that I'm making up or kids that I'm making up. We've got a mum here on the call, and I just wanted her to take 2 or 3 minutes, because I know, we want to get through this quickly. But if you're going to tell me, Kylie, or tell us, Kylie, briefly, what does this mean in your home at dinner time? What does this mean? What do these numbers mean getting Elijah ready for school? So can you tell us a little bit about how life changed after this program?
Hi, everyone. Josh, it's forgot how much he dropped until you showed me just then, 81 to 34. And honestly, it's brought back all the emotion, and I'm actually nearly in tears again. It was just, it's incredible, the difference that we saw in him, particularly for Elijah in the mornings getting dressed. It could take 2 hours just to get his socks on because of sensory issues, and he just felt like he had pins and needles in his shoes. And, that would take 2 hours, and then even trying to get him to school. We would get to school, I would be dragging him out of the car, the principal, his teacher, any other teacher, any other parent that was walking past, to get him in the front gates. And honestly, each morning was just a nightmare. So you could only imagine my stress levels, plus have another 2 kids with autism and ADHD as well. So dealing with those 2, as well as trying to get Elijah in the front gate in the mornings. But it honestly, from the start of the program to the end of the program, night and day difference. And the best thing for us as a family, I think, was getting him off the medication. It was something that both my husband and I never wanted to do, but we were at our wits' end, and that's what the paediatrician was telling us to do and what we needed to do, and school was telling us the same thing. So I thought, okay, we need to do this, but everything in my body and in my gut was saying it's not right, So as a family, we're so grateful for this program and for Josh for all the help that we got to get both the boys off their ADHD medication. Mornings now are so much easier. Elijah gets out of the car and literally runs into school. He's so much more calmer. His grades have gone from just like an average, some things were below average. His report card came home and it's all high achievements in absolutely everything. So he's able to sit in class, he's able to listen and to apply himself and do his work. A big thing too for Elijah, his brain used to go so far that you would say something to him and you could he's looking at you, but you could tell it wasn't going in. You would say to him, Elijah, what did I just say? And he's like, I don't know, because his brain was just so busy all the time. But now you can say, Elijah, do this. It's like, okay, Mum, yep, so it's night day difference. I think, is that kind of...
Yeah, no, that's perfect, Kylie. I think that's a picture. I know you could keep going. That's exciting. We are going to do a full testimonial, release that soon with Kylie on our website, so you can look out for that. But yep, awesome, Kylie. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so just in summary, and I think this has a lot more power now after that than if I'd said it at the start. What's the Connected Kids program? It's not a band-aid or long-term managing the symptoms approach. It is a corrective intensive that, according to Harvard University, and more importantly, all the parents that I've coached, leads to dramatic and lasting changes. So we want to get this out to more people. We have inquiries almost every single day about this program. So what's involved in becoming a coach? The Connected Kids coaching program consists of 3 modules. So there's module 1, where we go through the nutritional basics, and that's done by Dr. Bill Davison. It's about 5 hours worth. There's a few videos and a few articles. Module 2 is the Connected Kids Intensive. So that consists of the tutorial videos and resources on how to put together and run a brain balance type program using the Melello method. And that's created by myself. And that's approximately 10 hours worth of time. That would include the theory and also practical hours of actually practicing with your kids or, you know, friends' kids or whatever it is until you get confident in the method. And then module 3 is a business setup. So our coaches work as subcontractors and they run their own business. This was put together by another one of the company's directors who has successfully started and run multiple businesses. So we've got experts in all these areas. Okay, we've got Dr. Bill, as we mentioned before. He's been working in nutrition for 40 years successfully. We've got myself as a certified Melello method practitioner running the module 2 there. And then module 3, we've got a successful entrepreneur in many endeavors, getting you set up as a business if you've never set up a business before. You know, some of you will need more help than others with that. So a closer look at the program. The program consists of 3 30-minute Zoom sessions per week, and our program runs for between 12 to 16 weeks. So that's what you'd be doing as a coach, is you'd be sitting in and running these 30-minute Zoom sessions with the kids, getting them to do their exercise programs. Week 1 is an assessment week. We take a client history and there's a few assessments that we do on the kids. We're looking for that right left brain deficiency. You can see that in posture. You can see it in the senses as we do strength and balance testing, things like that. All the forms are done for you. I've got the templates for all the forms, and you just go through and do the assessment template. And then weeks 2 to 16 is actually implementing the program. So once we've diagnosed whether it's a right or left brain deficit, then I have programs for right brain and programs for left brain. And you simply run the child through that program. It's virtually the same each time. You're not coming up with new programs or having to think of new things every time. They just do the same program. There is some levels that they sort of advance through, but the exercises are very similar. And then some additional services that you should be aware of and that the clients get. They get nutritional testing and consultation with Dr. Bill, so he primarily looks after that. They get a supplement protocol from us, and they also get parent educational resources. So they have a parent portal that we provide for them, and also client educational emails delivered by Connected Kids. So we do a lot of the legwork for you, but it's just good for you to be aware that they're getting this service. All we need is for people to literally step into the vehicle and drive it for us on those 3 30-minute Zoom sessions. So I wanted to also get a quick testimonial from a coach. So we've just had our first coach sort of go through this process, just finished up, and just want to hear, her journey, what she was looking for, and also, how she found the coaching, the resources, and the support. So if Vicky's on our call, pretty sure I'll let her in. If she wants to unmute herself and just take a couple of minutes and tell us about the process of becoming a coach.
Evening, everybody. I'm Vicky. I joined the Connected Kids program last year. I had completed my first yoga teaching course. I've been a registered nurse for 25 years and have always had the love and passion to follow more of a line into the natural health areas instead of like getting out of the Western hospital model. I work in the operating theatres at a local hospital. And after I did my yoga teaching last year, I found the love and the confidence in learning new things. at a slightly older age. I happened to be having a visit with Dr. Bill and my youngest son, who's been under Dr. Bill's care since he was born. Both of my boys have been under Dr. Bill's care. And I was talking to him about a course I was looking at doing that was going to cost about $18,000. And it was a kinesiology course in a private college in Sydney. And I remember very clearly Dr. Bill saying to me, "So what is that going to provide you when you're finished?" I'm like, don't really know. So thankfully I hadn't actually signed up. And I've started doing the Connected Kids program. I first started reading Dr. Robert Melillo's book, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I would be in the tea room at work, reading and highlighting, because it just made me understand my two boys in a completely new light. And then I was also then able to go, oh, now that reminds me of my neighbour down the road, and that reminds me of another child I know. And then the ball started to roll. The more people I spoke to, the more of the mums from school, I'm like, oh my gosh, my child's now medicated for ADHD and so on and so forth. So I then started doing, I read through all the manuals from Dr. Bill and Josh. And in the last school holidays, I did about 9 assessments on kids. Luckily for me, I've got plenty of friends who offered their children for my study, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The format that Josh has written out to follow to do the assessments, very easy to follow, and the kids absolutely love doing the assessment. It's fun, they get to do different activities, and they really don't have much of an understanding of what we're looking at and what we're finding with them. And then, ready to start doing the actual week-to-week programs with the kids. But it's been an absolute pleasure and a joy doing the program, and I've learnt so much. It's been incredible. So not only to implement it in my own home with my own two boys who are 10 and 12, but share the knowledge with other people and get out of shift work is my ultimate goal after pulling nearly 23 hours awake on the weekend. Thank you to the local hospital for keeping me awake all night. So it's
Awesome.
Amazing.
Thanks, Vicky. Thanks a lot.
Hi, I'm Bree, one of the directors at Connected Kids. I'm going to be taking you through on this webinar what qualifications you'll need to have in order to become a Connected Kids coach. A lot of our clients actually run through NDIS, so these qualifications are ones that they require in order to pay you to be able to do this service. So number one, we're looking for occupational therapists, physiotherapists, exercise therapists, early childhood educators. There are a few others, maybe a personal trainer that needs to work or operate underneath an occupational therapist. But essentially these are the top 4 that we're looking for to join our team. So if you don't have one of these qualifications, or if you're in the process of completing one of these qualifications, still apply, because every 3 to 4 months we are actually looking for new coaches. That's how many clients we've been bringing on lately. So it's January now. In April, we'll be looking for 2 more coaches. So each quarter, we're taking on 2 more coaches to fill the demand that we have for the amount of clients that we've been bringing on. How much money can I make being a coach? Is this a full-time job or a part-time job? One of the best things about being a Connected Kids coach is that you're self-employed. So for us, you would be an independent contractor, and you get to choose what hours you work per week. So your ideal hours per week, if you can see across here, the top line, is 1 client would equal 27 hours per program. So the program works over 16 weeks. So that 1 client would take you about 27 hours over 16 weeks. If you want to break that down into how many hours per week that might take, it's about 1.68 hours. I mean, ideally in most weeks, it's about an hour and a half, but we do allow time for you to create the reports that you give to the parents and things like that, and you get paid for that time as well. How many clients? Again, you're self-employed, so you can choose how many clients. Our ideal model would be that you take on a minimum of 12 clients per quarter. So we estimate that you should be able to do 3 16-week rounds per year. And so that would be about 36 clients that you could take on over a 12-month period. And so that would work out to be about 20 hours or just over 20 hours a week worth of work for you to take on 12 clients per 16 weeks. Okay, so self-generated or CK generated. I thought I'd just explain this a little bit because there's two different ways to make money. And as you can see that there's a little bit of a price difference or an income difference based on this. So although Connected Kids does provide you some clients, you are self-employed, so you can bring on your own clients as well and run them through this same program that you would run the clients that we bring in. What that looks like if it's self-generated, meaning that you have advertised somewhere or you have been talking to a friend and they want to sign up, or a family member or whatever, they would count as a self-generated client and you get paid extra per hour because you brought in that client. So for a complete program, it would work out that you would be paid $3,230 for that client. If it's a client that Connected Kids have generated for you. So you've probably found us through marketing. We do quite a lot of marketing on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all over the place, and word of mouth is spreading quite fast. So we've got systems in place to bring in clients for you consistently. And so if it was one that we've brought in, the difference would be that you would get $2,630 for that child to complete the program. So it's still a really good income for the amount of hours that you'll be working. We've done all the work, we've built all the programs, and we're also helping you to bring in clients so that that's not all on your shoulders. If any of you have been business owners before, stressful things of being a business owner is wearing all the hats, having to chase people for payments or plan managers for payments, having to do your own marketing and advertising, having to sign up clients, having to generate leads all the time, having to have those sales conversations. So we have our support person, Mel, who is a mum whose son is or has completed our program. So she is one of the best people for your clients to talk to because she's really excited at the results that her son has been getting. And so she's our first point of call. And even if you have a lead that you're generating, she can still have that conversation with them and sign them up for you. So you can just send that lead through to her and she'll do the sales call. I mean, if you really have ever run a business before, you'll see that we're taking away all the things that make running a business hard so that you can focus on servicing the clients and giving them the best program possible so that they can get the results that we want. Because that's our real goal at the end of the day, is really just to help as many kids or adults with neurodiversity as possible. So what does that look like for an annual income? So we've given you both options again, as in self-generated. So if you brought in all 36 clients, none of our coaches have ever done this. They like that we give them clients and supplement them, but they do bring on some. But let's just say that you were really good at marketing, or you really loved, well, you're great with word of mouth or referring people or whatever it is, that's one of your strengths. Say you did bring on every single client. This is 36 clients. Each of them completing a 16-week program. That would be $112,000 roughly per year. We also pay super on top of this. So that's an extra thing that goes into your super that we're not calculating in all of this. And if it was, you're not great at bringing on clients and you want Connected Kids to bring in the majority of your clients, you might bring in one or two here or there. The lowest numbers you would get if you had 36 clients would be around $94,000 for about 20 hours of work per week. Not a bad income. You also get to work from home. You don't have to get into traffic. You save money on petrol. You can help kids not only in Australia, but all over the world. We've got clients in Switzerland, America, New Zealand, all over the place. This is one of the most rewarding things you'll ever do. And one more thing, just before I go, that I need to explain is the tax. Obviously, this is your gross income. So you'll need to talk to your accountant about how much tax you might need to pay based on these numbers if you're trying to get an idea of what kind of income you'll have what kind of net profit you'll make from being a Connected Kids coach. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask Josh when you get on the call. But really, you can see that we're really passionate about this because we've seen so many kids' lives change. I myself, my son was 9 years old when we first started creating Connected Kids, and he was being forced out of an autism school because he just really couldn't be around other kids without hitting or biting. And within 3 weeks of working with Josh, he no longer was biting. The meltdowns had almost disappeared. He couldn't read. He was in year 4 and he couldn't read. He was couldn't read anything. And I was reading Harry Potter about 3 weeks into the program, and he looked over my shoulder and he read a full sentence of the Harry Potter 4. By the end of the 12 weeks, he read a full chapter of Harry Potter 4. It's been 2.5 years now since he did this. I get goosebumps even now. But it's been 2.5 years since he did this program, and he's now reading at a year 6 level, which is the year that he's in. So it doesn't get any better than that. I can go to the park now and not worry that my son's going to bite kids. It's changed our lives, and we just really want to help as many kids or adults with this neurodiversity as possible. The amount of time that we estimate to complete the modules on the Melillo method, on Dr. Bill's modules, on the business setup, so the step-by-step processes that we've created for you to create your own email with a Connected Kids domain and things like that, is about 30 hours. So if you were going to go into business for yourself, I'm pretty sure the startup cost and the time involved would be a lot more than 30 hours, but with our support, you can get that all set up and running. So if you spend 30 hours in a week completing all of that and getting it all set up, in a week you could be starting to take on clients. There is some testing involved that you have to do to get marked off by Josh, or some videos you need to create to show that you know how to do the exercises and you're confident in being able to run kids through it and know how to do some of the retained primitive reflex testing and things like that. But once all of that's marked off, you are free to start taking on clients very quickly. If you think about what kind of education you've had or done or paid for in the past, if you went to university, any degree would be costing a minimum of $20,000 and would take you probably a year or 4 or 5 to complete, depending on what it is you've been doing. So if you're an OT, you probably already have been through that process. This is obviously a lot closer than that. My experience with going to TAFE, when I started to become a personal trainer, it was, you're going to be a business owner, you're going to run your own business as a personal trainer. Here's how you use Microsoft Word, Excel. So I'm not sure how much business training or experience you get when you do go to university, but within our program, we basically give you a step-by-step instruction on, creating a calendar, sharing the calendar. Everything is pretty much done and rebuilt or already built out of it. So we've got 2 payment options. So one is upfront. You can save $500 by paying upfront for $7,500. The cost of the course is $8,000, but we give you a bit of a discount if you pay upfront. And the other option that we have is our payment plan. So you could get started today for as little as $2,000 upfront, and then we set you up with a monthly payment of $750 over the next 8 months. Again, if you were going to be starting up a business, I'm sure there'd be a lot more costs involved with that. Just for our CRM that you get access to, we pay close to $300 a month. For the calendars that we have, that would be another $20, $30, $40 a month. All the other things that we've built for you that cost us per month, you're not having to pay those extra costs. So if you were doing this on your own, you would have all of those other setup costs involved with running a business, email automation and all that kind of stuff. So we've already set all of that up for you, and your clients get access to all of that automation, which has saved you months of work. Trust me, we built them, we know. So the other thing that you want to consider when you're thinking about paying for the course, or how you might pay for the course, is what kind of job could you have this kind of flexibility. So the flexibility to choose your own hours. In your calendar, we're not saying to you need to work 9 to 5 or Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Fridays. You can honestly put that you work 2 hours on a Monday and 4 hours on a Friday. However you want to structure that, that's up to you. You're your own boss, you have your own flexibility. We've got coaches that, set it up around their Muay Thai or their boxing or whatever it is that they do. I myself work around my own boxing and kickboxing schedule. So Josh, I know when he's setting these up, he organises his appointments to be when his kids are having their nap time. So that flexibility is basically one of the main selling points of becoming a kids coach, the flexibility of that. Appreciation and job satisfaction. So you've already seen Kylie, you've seen Vicky, you've seen a lot of people who get so much praise or thanks for doing this job. It is a constant stream of having your mind blown by kids who are suddenly able to talk when they never could before. Josh has got clients that are now starting to walk or crawl that were 2 or 3, 4 years old and couldn't do that yet. So that job satisfaction will come in many different forms, but those are the 3 things that people think about when they're thinking about what kind of career they want to have. Does it make enough money to support my life and what I want to do? Do I have the flexibility to do the things that I'm passionate about still? Or flexibility to keep myself fit and healthy like me? And do people really appreciate what I'm doing, and do I feel like I'm supported? So hopefully us, the Connected Kids team, will make you feel supported, and the appreciation will definitely come from the clients and the parents of clients. I can't tell you how grateful I am to Josh for all that he did for my son when he took him through this program, and we're so excited for you guys to have that same rewarding feeling moving forward, and getting that feedback from people will actually make your day. Look forward to seeing you in the coaches training.